Recipe number 1, I use this all the time during the day. If your scene has a lot of blue, a lot of whites, a lot of teal, there will be a lot of contrast. It's a very clean shot. There is that bit of bleach bypass look. That's because we are using the film simulation of classic chrome. So unfortunately, if you do not have this film, you can use something else to replace, but yeah, the classic chrome seems to do the most of the heavy lifting. Keep in mind, all the recipes are shot in automatic white balance because I want to be as versatile as possible. So let's start with film simulation, classic chrome, grain effect 0, but if you like that grainy look, you can probably turn this up. Color chrome, that's turned off as well, but the color chrome for FX blue, this I sometimes turn on. I don't use this as much. Play around with your scene. If your scene have a lot of blue, a lot of dark greens, for example, there's a mountain further away, something very contrasty, it does make those colors higher density, so it kind of pops in the photos, but right now I've turned it off. Skin smoothing, usually it's off, but some people, especially when I take photos of girls, they like to have a little bit of smoothness on the skin. I usually set this to weak, especially with this. It's a very contrasty look, so I don't actually use this to take portraits as much. White balance, automatic, leave it as it is. And I don't have any shift in color as well for this preset, so ignore that. Dynamic range, it's at 200, so just set that at 200. Now, tone curve, I think this is where it makes or breaks for this kind of preset, and this is where you kind of have to play around with. Now for me, mostly I like to crush my highlights, so make it a little bit more smoother roll off on the skin especially, so -2 for the highlights. Now with the shadows, depends on what looks you're going for. I've been playing around. I started off with +1, so really crushing the shadows, and if I want it even darker, could be 1.5 or even 2. But recently I've actually brought up the shadows to -1 because I want to reduce the contrast of the photo to give that more smoother, creamy kind of finish, which is why I don't have grain on this photo. That's really up to you, depending on your subject, but play around with this. Another tip is that I'm happy to turn up the ISO or reduce the shutter speed so the whole image is a lot more brighter, because with this recipe, it's very good for shooting anything with blue skies, anything with white backdrops. It really makes the white pop. Color is +1, just give that a little bit more richness, and then sharpness, I add 1 extra. High ISO noise reduction, -1, just to remove further noise. Remember, I want that smooth, creamy look, so that's what I'm going for. Now, clarity, I've got +2 on this because it really pops the photos, but keep in mind, clarity does actually takes internal processing, so every time you take a photo, you gotta wait a second. Okay, that's it for recipe 1. Let's go to recipe number 2. Now, this is mostly for kind of golden hours, sunsets, sunrise, anything with warm tones, golden hour. This is what I would like to use because it really brings out the warmth of the photo. Okay, so everything's set very kind of creamy warm. Now if you don't like the warmth, I'm going to teach you how to change that. A couple of settings to watch out for, but let's just go through the setting. Okay, so first of all, film simulation. This is based off Stereo Soft, so it's not as rich as the Velvia Vivid, so it's in between standard and vivid, I would say. Grain effect, I have this set on weak. You can turn this off. Sometimes I turn it off, sometimes I leave it on. You can turn this off if you want. Color chrome effect, this is on strong, okay? And color chrome blue, this is off. Skin smooth, once again, up to you. If you're shooting portraits, if your subject wants to smooth the skin, I usually leave it on to weak, otherwise it's off. White balance, this is on automatic, but what you have to do is change the actual white balance shift. This is where the color comes in, and it's very, very important. So depending on your skin tone, if you're shooting someone slightly darker or lighter, it depends what you want to shoot. But right now, the shift is on 2 red and -2 blue. So that means I'm taking more blue away, but adding in red. So your complexion is getting that red tone. But sometimes I shift this. So if I'm shooting a subject who likes her face, especially younger girls, who likes their face to be a bit more pale, a bit more whiter, but with a slight tinge of pink, I would probably add a little bit of blue to this, or I will reduce a little bit of pink or red into this. Dynamic range, this is still on 200, unchanged, but my tone curve, this is very important again. So once again, I'm going to that smooth complexion, so I'm crushing my highlights, so at -2, and once again, my shadows is on -1.5 because I'm bringing up the shadows to really make my subject or the whole image look very, very smooth. So less contrast, but a very gradual roll off. My colors on +2 to give that vibrant look, and the sharpness is on 0. I have high ISO noise reduction at -1. Clarity, I don't turn this on because I want that smooth look. Okay, so that's recipe number 2, and finally the third one, which is actually I think my favorite. It is the black and white based off acro, especially when you have a lot of yellows, so your skin tone for example, or a lot of lighting that has yellow, it pops in the image, it just looks so crispy clean. And this is a great recipe to use not just during the day but at night as well, because there are a lot of street lights, there are a lot of ambient yellow tinged lights that really pops out in this black and white photo. Okay, so the aim is to get a lot of contrast but clean image. This is a variant of the HP5 and it's used based off the Acro's yellow filter. Okay, grain effect and the color chrome effect are both turned off, and my color chrome blue is turned off. Smooth skin effect I just turned off. It's black and white, I want the contrast look anyways. White balance is auto and there is no shift in color. Dynamic range, we are at 200 as well. Now the tone curve, this is very important. Once again, I'm going for a really heavy contrast look here, so the darks are really dark, the shadows are really black, so the white, anything white or mid-tone pops out in the photos. So this is my settings. My highlight is set to 0, so as it is, but I'm crushing my shadows with 1.5. Now if you want even darker, shoot it for 2. But if you want a kind of a lighter filmic look, you know, where the shadows kind of still have that faded look, you might want to decrease your shadow and actually bring it up with a -1 or -1.5. And then with sharpness, we're at +1. And the high ISO noise reduction is set to -1. Now clarity I've actually turned on previously, but I found that it's taking too much time when I shoot, and with moving it doesn't impact the image as much because the contrast is so heavy, it just really pops anyway. So, and that's it. This is the recipes I've been using the last month traveling around the world. So 99% of the time it's mostly black and white or one of the other filters. Now I'm also working on 2 or 3 different filmic kind of looks. Those are very specific depending on your lighting conditions, your white balance. Well, so it's not everyday versatility as these 3 recipes, but it should be very good depending on the look you're going for. But if that's something you're interested in, feel free to subscribe. I'm George, more tutorials and reviews coming your way. Cheers.